That's it. I'm out of here.
recording and stuff.
None. You can see my vacuum, but I'll figure out something for the next time. Not now. Okay,
Oh, there you're back. Yeah.
there we go. Unless I spin the computer somehow. You want to see the outside inside?
Your photocopier. Sick.
My giant printer and my
Oh,
liquor cabinet
my wife
in
has
my office.
the liquor cabinet and the printer together.
Yeah, that's great.
Can I adjust this thing? Maybe,
That says
maybe I should
hardscaper.
do it all from my phone or
That
something.
says hardscaper right there.
Sooner or later, we'll get a good liquor or beer sponsor, and they can all be in your cabinet there.
Beautiful. Rye sponsor.
If we're gonna go for sponsorship, then we need to go deep. Like we need Chevrolet. We should all get free trucks.
I can't. I'd rather walk.
You just bought a Dodge.
Shoot for the
Yeah.
stars.
I love my Dodge, but my God, that transmission is just fucking god awful.
Really?
Like, yeah, I'm embarrassed to like drive through a parking lot because it's always clunk, clunk, bang, clunk, clunk, something. Like, I'm gonna get stranded one of these days. I don't know if it's just me or if they're all like that, but
I don't know. Ours are all. Well, I drive a Veloster now. It's awesome.
wow.
It's the best thing ever. Well, my daughter plays soccer in Toronto, and the truck was like $600 a week in fuel. So
Yeah.
And then we bought a truck that Kelly got, which is like a sick AT4 lifted with big fat rims. And then so Kelly's driving that, and then one of our guys got in an accident and rode off his Dodge Nitro. Someone keyed it in the parking lot, so it was right off. He legitimately smashed it. So he took my pickup out of the yard, and so now I'm like literally just driving this Veloster around. Like I went up to a cottage. A friend of mine bought a cottage lot, and so I was been up there the last 2 days, and I get up there and it's like a cottage full of contractors, and there's like Denali this, AT4 that, like Yukon this, huge trucks everywhere, and I'm ripping in there in this Veloster. And I'm like, hey,
That's what sets you apart.
and it's got 3 doors, so it's cheaper on insurance. You know, a 2-door Veloster. You got to add the weird third door to it. Just go on.
I have never owned a car in my life, like ever. My first,
Really?
yeah, my first vehicle was a truck, and I've had trucks ever since. I mean, my wife has a car, our car, I suppose, but I've never had like a passenger car ever.
Really? I've had a few, but not as nice as the Veloster. So maybe Hyundai could sponsor us.
Yeah.
They don't even make that car anymore, do they?
Yeah, I think they, well, to be honest, I'm not up on the latest model of the Veloster, so I have no fucking idea if they still make it. When we were up there, someone's like, "What year is this car?" I'm like, "I don't know."
I don't know.
You don't know
Does
what
it
year
matter?
this car is? I'm like, bro, listen, I'm not overtly attached to this Veloster, but right now my life has dictated that this is how I roll. I roll in this Veloster. You know, this is it. This is the way it goes for me. This is what my daughter needs me to do right now, so this is what I'm doing. But I don't know what
when is it getting the Paver King wrap done on it and all that getting decked out?
Not kidding. I went to a meeting the other week. I showed up on like I went to a job we're starting, and I had never met the homeowner because we placed it through a designer, and I had never actually even been to the house. We're starting the job in like 2 days, and I was like, "Fuck, maybe I should go here." Like just to see, like, I have looked at this on Google Earth, and that's been my like, because times are so good at the moment. Like you can go get a job without even literally going to the house until 2 days before you start the work. And when I got there, I quickly concluded, well, I guess we'll have to take the roof off the E20 because we're not getting through the carport otherwise. Sick. But the lady who owned the house came out, and I got out of the Veloster, and she's like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "I'm your landscape contractor." God, I look like a pro right now. I am not gonna. I've been doing this for 30 years, and I still don't have a truck. I keep everything in this three door, not 2-door, 3-door hatchback.
Don't tell me you had. Were you in tennis shoes, like running shoes? You didn't show up to the job with running shoes, did you?
I think I was wearing running shoes because
No, that's my biggest thing.
trying
If
to
I
keep
see
the Veloster clean.
if I see a contractor show up in running shoes anywhere, just burns my arse. I don't know. It's a personal thing, I think, but
I try to put because now that I drive the truck a lot, I still try to wear boots every day.
Yeah.
But some days if I'm in a rush, I get in the truck. I'm like, shit, I'm still wearing my running shoes.
I
Pretty
can't
hard
take.
to enforce it on someone else. I get where you're coming from, though. It certainly doesn't. If you're at the landscape supplier and there's like two guys in front of you wearing running shoes, you're like, gosh, you're not helping us.
Yeah. Running shoes. That's just one thing for me. A pet peeve, I think, is anybody in running shoes trying to sell a job or start a job or something like that. That's
I'm being really quiet about this. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm gonna shut my mouth.
whatever. If it works for you, fine. But
No, I'm usually in my work boots. If I go to the supplier like first thing in the morning, I might be in my running shoes. But I get ripped on quite a bit for that. So
there's a contractor in our city that he shows up to the supplier at the morning or whatever. He's in his Crocs with no socks on, and not that you're supposed to wear socks with your Crocs, I guess. I don't know. But he's changing like in the parking lot or in the store, putting his work boots on, and he's got these long, gnarly toenails and stuff, and like his pants are all ripped. I'm like, how the fuck does this guy do this for a living? Like,
the record, I've never worn a Croc in my life.
Neither have I guess. Yeah. I'm not opposed to it, but I just never have.
I'm glad that in Durham region where I'm from, we're not as involved with the other contractors to the point where we know the length of their toenails. I don't think there's any contractors in Durham region that are aware of my toenail length.
That must be a Cornwall thing.
It quite possibly could be. There's a lot of shit in Cornwall that probably doesn't happen elsewhere for good reason. It's quite the place down here.
What's there to do with it in Cornwall? Because I was in an elevator and there's like that digital like billboard thing on it that changes. Yeah. And there was an advertisement that I should go to Cornwall.
But I wouldn't tell you why. Like,
no, that's why I'm asking.
Come to Cornwall. There's nothing here. We have shipping centers and stuff for like Walmart, and we used to have one for Target.
This was like a tourist. Like you should go to Cornwall.
For tourism, absolutely nothing. I mean, I can't tell you. Maybe if you like fishing, maybe, but you had to be like really big into fishing and like take your bass boat down here or something like that. Other than that, I honestly can't tell you a good reason to come here. There's next to nothing to do here other than ride the river if you're a boater or something. But
you guys grow corn?
Corn.
Yeah, there's a lot of farming around, I suppose. Right? Corn and soybean they're pretty popular, but I doubt that's where the name came from.
You guys gonna get the next cricket farm?
If your man Trudeau keeps putting the kibosh on the fertilizer thing there, it might come down to cricket farming over here.
You never know. That got really political. You're not supposed to do that, right?
What's that?
Oh, you're not supposed to talk about his ridiculous haircut. I read an article today about how his handlers actually got him to cut his hair like that because it took all his scandals out of the news cycle and created his haircut to be the number one thing in the news cycle.
His haircut is ridiculous, if you want to talk about that.
But that's like when it happened and I saw him, I was like, there's no freaking way. This guy has like 25 people handling him.
Yeah.
25 people following this guy around, making sure he doesn't screw up or wear a Nazi uniform or God knows what else he could do.
Well, I'm sure he's got one in his closet. He's got a uniform for everything else.
And I'm like, how does this man end up with this haircut? Like, 25 people watching him, and they still hear. But I read an article today saying that the Liberal Party told him to cut his hair like that because it distracts the news cycle from the scandals, and the people who love him more because everyone's making fun of him and they feel sorry for him, and the people who don't are distracted by the haircut and not focused. And I'm like, wow, we've reached a different political spectrum in this country when you're intentionally cutting your hair like an idiot so that people forget that you have like 8,000 scandals going on. Whatever.
What a time to be alive, eh?
Yeah,
What a
no
time
kidding.
to be alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So what's this up?
there's an
What?
argument we're in the better political state of the country. It's two countries.
I suppose. Yeah. Um,
That's my
so
delve.
what's this episode about? What are we, or are we in it already? We're
I
deep in
think
it.
all the
We're-
episodes should
we're-
be-
We're right into it right now. We've already covered a bunch of different topics already. We might as well keep this going.
How are you going to edit this one? It's just about nothing so far.
I had a really interesting thought driving 3.5 hours back from the cottage to check on my business that I feel like my business is self-destructing all around me because I'm at this cottage building these stairs and walls, and I'm like, oh, the whole business is self-destructing, and meanwhile, like, I'm just making myself more important than I am, and every single person that works for us is like super confident, and they handled every problem, and like one of our trucks died, and they didn't fucking call me. They just fixed and moved on.
I wish. I can't wait for that moment in business.
Like a fantastic group of people, and I'm out there in the middle of nowhere on some lake, 3.5 hours from home, worried that the whole world is. None of that happened to me. None of it. Anyways, when I was driving home, it occurred to me, like, how much money have I wasted in my life proving I was right when I wasn't?
Expand on that.
Yeah, expand on that.
So like if we're on a job site, I used to do this a lot. Like, say we're on a job site and I say we need to dig all the tree holes first, and the guys are like, no, we got to dig them individually, and I'm like, yeah, no, fuck that, dig them all. And they're like, well, no, we got to dig them individually, and I'm like, no, we're digging them all because I'm right. And then like halfway through digging all the holes, I realized, shit, the guys were right, I'm wrong. I would still make them dig all the holes and waste the money, because I'm like, I'd rather waste the money than admit I'm wrong. And I'm saying, like, I think we all do that on some minor scale. So like the question really is, how much money have you wasted in your life or at your business, I guess, proving that you were right, even when you knew you were clearly totally wrong, but just didn't want to admit it. I've done it a lot, but maybe in this whole maybe this is like, I've been thinking thousands of times that I've done this. Maybe you two are like looking at me like, you guys are a moron. Admit you're right and keep the cash. Or admit you're wrong and keep the cash. I don't know. This happens to me. It used to happen to me more frequently than it does now. Now I'm like, I don't really care how you people do things. Just get it done. And
that's it. That's
really sound.
Now my mentality is, I don't care how you guys do it. Get it done the most effective way possible. And if I'm micromanaging them too much, they're not going to be happy whenever they're working, right? But if I give them that slack in the rope, say like we're planting trees today, and trees weren't there till 11 o'clock. The guys got there at 8:30 or whatever, unloaded the shovel, said, why don't you dig some holes ahead of time? Sure, no problem. They went ahead, dug some holes. The trees got there, started planting the holes, and then they would do each tree on their own, right? I said, you guys figure it out. You're grown adults. Just get it done. But if it doesn't get done, then I'll be upset, right? Like, yeah, I don't have a problem letting the guys take charge for the most part. But I mean, we're only 6 or 7 guys, so, and I trust them all enough that they can make stuff happen.
I had an employee the past couple of years that was really good at thinking about different ways to do things. And maybe because I'm stubborn, or maybe because I don't know why. I just have a tough time with delegation. I wouldn't go the route that he talked about, and I should have probably listened to him a few times. And then even after we did something, and like in retrospect, you look back on it and you're like, you know what, this kid had a really good point. Why didn't we do it that way? To go from that. So yeah, I can definitely see, like, I don't know what that is in me though. Maybe it's not having a good delegation mindset, or maybe it's just my stubbornness that makes me, if I think of something, it's really hard for me to stray from that path. And I don't know if you guys have that same kind of stubbornness mindset, maybe, or whatever you might call it. But if I have a game plan, it's really hard for me to, if somebody suggests something, for me to stray from that game plan.
I've had that struggle with the foreman that's doing our residential this year. He's awesome. All the guys on the residential crew are awesome, and I have a plan in my mind about how they should do things, and they're often not doing it the way that my mind has it. And it's a hard lesson to learn that it's not wrong, it's just different.
Yeah.
And like they did the last job they did the entire job, and they covered the porch last. And you know, for me, I would cover the porch first and set my height for the whole job and then go through it, because that porch is changing heights and it's just a constant. And that's how it worked in my mind. Mind you, they brought the project home in exactly the estimated time. I think they were actually done early. The client is spectacularly happy. The residential, like Kelly, who's also the residential project manager and everything else, she was spectacularly happy. The landscape designer is spectacularly happy, and I'm super happy. And I'm like, did it really matter? Like, because there was a time in my life when I would have got into it with those guys and tried to explain to them why you do the porch first. And I'm like, now I'm like, does it really matter? I used to do it with Cody and the bins, because in my mind I'd be like, you do this bin, this bin, this bin, this bin, drop that one, empty this one, go here, because, and Cody's mind works like 180 degrees to Mike's mind. Like, it's just who she, I love her, but it's just who she is. And I've learned that with, you know, she always gets everything done. It's done in the same amount of hours. Like, who cares? Like, but I used to get attached to it too for a long time.
Yeah, I used to have to be on every job all the time. Whenever we started this, getting 5 or 6 or 8 guys, whatever we had at the time, like I used to almost have to do everything all the time. And the more slack I gave them, the better they were on their own. Like some of the guys just finished a residential job this week, and I was there for maybe half an hour just because I had a meeting with the client. We loaded some asphalt, and they said, give her, guys, and they hit the whole job out of the park, and I didn't have to go back at all. They even brought home the check. So stoked on that. Like it's an evolution for me where I don't have to be there. And before I was the guy mixing the hydro seed and spraying it, and then running to the brick job, and we got to cut in the patio and all that stuff. And now I'm delegating to the guys, and it seems to just jive better, and I sleep better knowing that I can trust these guys to do what I need them to do.
I think the last 3 days, like I left Sunday night, I came back tonight. I think that I will sleep better moving forward, knowing that these people don't really need me. That I'm probably a pain in their ass. That I add no value to them at all.
Well, you signed their paychecks.
They are all really good at their jobs, and I'm not. I'm kind of mediocre at everything. So, I mean, I can do everything. I'm just not great at any particular thing. So a lot of them are doing one thing, and they are really good at that. What that action they perform. You know, I don't know. It was a good lesson learned, and I'll probably sleep better knowing that, you know, they because day one didn't go smoothly, and when things didn't go smoothly, they all figured out the best way to do things and the best things to do, all on their own. You know, we were hauling off a site, and the dump got shut down halfway through the fucking day randomly because the guy that owned the dump decided he just didn't want trucks there that day. It was okay the next day, but not that day. And so the trucks are calling me, and they're like, "Hey, the road's piling off," and I'm like, "Okay, well, move them." Like I don't know what to do. We need to dump the truck. So move the pylon, dump the truck. I'll deal with the aftermath of it at a later date. But a lot of, and anyways, I think I'll sleep better. I think that it was a good life lesson for me that they'll function okay. They're fine. They're great. Our residential crew started a brand new job, and I didn't. That was the job where I went for the first time in the Veloster, and they showed up with real pickup trucks and actual tools, and so the lady was probably like, "Oh, thank God that guy is not around, because that guy's an idiot." And these are actual people that know what they're doing here now. So it was a good. Just made me think about like how much money's been wasted because I didn't let people do the things that they were great at.
Kind of continuing off of that thought, when an employee did call you or does call you with a problem, or you're on site with them and they ask you, what do I do next? Or what should I be doing right now? What do you guys respond with? Or moving forward, what would you respond with for them with that?
Well, there's sometimes like I'll get a call, say, oh, the hydroseeder blew a hose or something. So I'll say, okay, well, drive it over to RSI. They'll fix it real quick. You'll be back at it in an hour or whatever. Other times, like, oh, I'm not sure about this line. How do I cut it and stuff? Or is this too big or too small? I'm like, we'll talk it out together on the phone and then use your best judgment. It's nothing we can't change later, right? Maybe I'm a shitty boss or I'm too flexible or lenient, but there's almost nothing that can't be fixed at another time if it's not the way we like it or we talked about it or something isn't clear. I'm trying to be more fluid and just dealing with. I lost my train of thought, but anything can be corrected, right? So if there's problems, we'll talk it out. If we misinterpret each other, we'll fix it when we see each other, I suppose.
I had a harsh rule for like when I was general manager. I guess most of my whole life or whatever. I've had a harsh rule since I've been in charge. Don't fuck up shit we don't do. Don't fuck up asphalt. Like, don't fuck up the asphalt. We don't do that. I don't know how to fix it. I don't have an asphalt spreader. Like, if you have a choice between running over some pavers or running over the fresh asphalt, run over the goddamn pavers.
That's a great concept.
We can fix that. Fuck up sod. Hit a tree. I don't give a shit. Don't tear down the chain link fence because I don't know how to fix that. And I don't even know anyone that does chain link fence anymore. So don't fuck up chain link fence. Like, I just have this like this set of stuff. It was like a famous thing. And inevitably someone would drive on some fresh asphalt. What the fuck are you doing? There's not that many rules here. One of the rules is only screw up shit that like, because if you screw up something you can fix, at least you can fix it. Like,
right.
You don't have to call some sub. It's not this whole rigmarole. It's the same as like concrete. Don't crack concrete. Like, don't drive over fresh sidewalk bays. And because we used to do a lot of work in new neighborhoods, and some they pour in a bunch of hay gravel, not compact it, pour a sidewalk bay, and then leave. And then you go to fill the backyard with soil to cut the grades for the backyard, and you're backing a fully loaded triaxle up over the sidewalk bay and crack it, and then it becomes your problem. And like, inevitably we're using some strange concrete mix, and now your concrete doesn't match, and there's one sidewalk bay that sticks out, and it just was like, don't break the concrete. Drive over anything but the concrete. Drive over that field of salt, like whatever. It's got to be. I mean, that's been my rule for a long time. It breaks shit that we can fix. Like, don't fuck up shit that we can. I mean, the municipalities are so rainy here too. Like, I just tell them pile everything on the front lawn. It's easier and more efficient for me to say screw up the entire front lawn and we'll resod it even if it's a medium-sized job. Then deal with shit on the road and municipalities calling, just fuck up the lawn. Don't screw up the driveway. Don't pile shit on the driveway. Don't scrape the driveway. Don't run the skid steer. Pile it on the lawn. Whatever. I don't care. We can fix the grass. It's fairly painless. I started that like, I don't know, maybe 8-9 years ago. I just, like every job we do, I just have a line item, fix front lawn or fix boulevard or whatever, just because I'm like, I just don't. I think you're going to get away with that nowadays where we work. It's never happening.
Hmm.
On the flip side of that, when people call me, if I'm like agitated, I say, listen, there's 500 things agitating me in this moment. So if this conversation comes off as harsh, you're aware that I'm super agitated right now. And that happens frequently. Like the other day, I walked across the yard and I was like, Colin, he's like, yeah. I'm like, I've had 600 bad things happen to me today. I'm super pissed. And your idling truck is right in front of me at $2 a liter.
Yeah.
Truck off. I was like, thanks, bro. I don't want this to come off as harsh, but I'm like super pissed about it. And it's unreasonably angry about it. And I know it. So shut it off, please. For the love of God. Now, when they call me with problems, I try to be reasonable and, try to see it from their perspective. And, we've had some, like last year, we hit a bridge with an excavator. Like we've had some.
Hit a bridge, like a
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
overpass, like a 401 overpass, like.
No, there's a bridge coming out of Queen's Park, and it's 3.7, and it's not even 4 meters. And the machine's legal in the bin. It's 13. It's not even like 13.6 is legal. It's 13. It's 6 inches legal. I measured it repetitively.
So you peeled the top off the shovel, or
No, we're just situation. We're going under the bridge. She must have hit a bump, and it just went boom and touched. Because it's
like
short, and it's like, and so when the roof hit, it bented a bit, and the door doesn't close anymore. But you can't even tell that it got hit. So she brought it back to the job site, and the door didn't close anymore. So I assume someone had whacked the thing. And we went through this. It's not even our machine. It's one of our clients' machines, which makes it way better, like super better. But I mean, I have this, like, I don't know. It could have happened to me. It could have happened to any of us. Like, you're downtown Toronto, you're at Queen's Park, you get jammed on all these one-way streets, you end up at this bridge that's 3.7, you think you're clear, you hit a bump, you're suddenly not clear. Like, she didn't even know she hit, like, Cody didn't know she hit the bridge. Like, that's how lightly damaged this thing. But it's a Kubota, so it just imploded on itself.
Easy now. But what size shovel? Just so that I don't do it in my hook bin.
4-ton.
It's a 4-ton. I got a 4-ton.
Yeah, so, well, when you put it in your bin truck, just be worried.
Don't drive it in Toronto.
3.7 down at Queen's Park. It could have happened. Like I delivered machinery to Queen's Park. I just didn't happen to deliver that piece, and I got jammed going under that bridge too. And like, it could have happened to any of us. I try to be understanding with them now. And there was a time when I used to get like super mad, and now I'm like, does anyone? I just try to put myself in their shoes. I think no one wants to call me. I'm not a pleasant person to talk to. They don't call me midday to be like, hey Mike, how's it going? Did you see the Leaf game last night? Like, no, none of them call me. Like, they don't want to call me. They want to avoid me like the plague all day because they're just trying to get through the day and get home to their kids or their weed or whatever the fuck they have going on. They just don't want to talk to me. So when they do call me now, I try to, okay, well, they're calling me. And so there's obviously some kind, and sometimes I used to like our one gravel truck got sideswiped by another gravel truck trying to pass him in a left-hand turn lane illegally. And so the tarp got damaged when the pop of the other truck hit our truck, and Terry managed to not destroy the whole truck. Props to him because he's a great driver. But the tarp's been damaged for, I don't know, we've been waiting for parts for it because it's, fucking COVID for months. And he called me this week and was like, hey man, like the U-bolt on the tarp actually broke off today. And I was like, oh fuck. So, the mechanic had the parts, and there was a time when I would have got really mad at him. They're like, what did you do? Did you like pull the tarp button backwards or something? What were you thinking? And now I'm like, all this guy did was like pull the tarp. Like, he didn't do anything wrong. He pulled the air tarp and the thing went back. I mean, shitty U-bolt was already damaged, broke. But there was a time when I would have blamed everyone for everything, like every single thing. It wouldn't have happened if I pulled that tarp.
What changed that for you, Mike?
I think just being old. I don't know. I think just maybe being older just I don't know, I think, honestly, I think a lot of it, for me, some of it changed when I had a kid. If I don't have stepson and they spend Peeve, like Nate and Peeve, and just things just don't, I mean, I guess they just don't seem as important as they do. Or there's 99% of stuff that happens would have happened whether I did or they did it or someone did it. And almost everything reverts back to something that I didn't pay attention to, and it's probably my fault. No, I don't know. I just different. I just now I think that I think now too, in retrospect, in the last this year especially, I think more of them, both of our staff, call me about things because I don't get overtly angry and help them with their problems. And if I am angry, I tell them, listen, I'm super pissed and it has jack fuck to do with you. But you're just calling me in this moment. So if this conversation doesn't go well, be forewarned. It's not your fault. And I say that stuff. You could ask them. They would all come up.
That's awesome.
He literally says that. Listen, I'm super agitated today and really freaking out. So don't. I'm too. So I don't know. And most of our people, like almost all of our team, has been with us a long time, and they all mean well. And I honestly believe like none of them would make. They all make bad decisions here and there, but none of them make them intentionally.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's lots of people who know it's the wrong decision, but it's easier for them, or it just they make it anyways, even though they know it's wrong. I don't think anyone on our team makes decisions that they know are wrong or bad. None of them would intentionally do anything to harm the company or Kelly and I or even their surrounding team members. So I think it just creates more patience for me. Hopefully. Tomorrow's a new day.
My guys expect me to get mad at, and I guess this is just me, but I get mad at the little things. The big things, no problem. Like we blew a main hydraulic line on the skid steer today, dumped the whole reservoir all over the job site. The guys called me freaking out. He was locked inside the Bobcat, couldn't get the door open. I said, okay, well, I'll call someone. We'll figure it out. Get in the other machine. We'll go. But something like that, no big deal. We'll deal with it. Something little like the client doesn't like the curve on the walkway that I did or something like that. And not in front of the client, but I'll hit the roof. Like in my brain, I'll hit the roof and I'll go in the truck and start swearing and freaking out and throwing pens and shit. And anything small, like the cord breaks on the quick cut, lose it. I just lose it. But the big stuff I seem to have a better grasp on. And I guess that's one of my character flaws. And the guys, thankfully, are accepting to that. And we all make it through. We make it through the day, and then the days turn into the weeks, and before you know, another season's done. And they come back, so I can't be that bad, I guess.
I think this season too, like being totally honest, I've lost control of the company. Like it's gotten so big, so fast that I've totally lost control. And so when things go wrong, I'm like, well, this is 100% my fault because I didn't deal with this properly, and I didn't. I knew like I didn't set them up to succeed. And so when things do go wrong, I mean, they succeed all the time because they're just successful people. And it has jack to do with me. But when things do go wrong for them 99% of the time, it's because I didn't set them up for success.
Yeah, but you can't do everything all the time, right? Like you can't read every single page of all the manuals for your new machines and know what's going to go wrong or how to fix it when it does go wrong, right? Like
I think that's fair, but for me, my problem is that I chose to drive a bin truck instead of run the company. And I've spent way too much time driving the bin truck because I love driving the bin truck. Don't particularly love managing a large company. Well, I mean, large is all relative term.
Yeah.
I don't particularly love doing the management side of a company that's bigger than I had anticipated or ever wanted. So I think that, Kelly and I had some pretty real discussions about that because, it's stuff like, not having even been to a residential job you're starting. Like, I mean, not even been there. Like, never haven't been there once until 48 hours. And then going, oh, shit. Yeah, there's a few things here that aren't what I expected. I actually had no expectations because I'd never fucking been there. I think that for us, like Kelly calls me, she's like, "Yeah, we owe $24,000 in HST." And I'm like, well, how the fuck did that happen? She's like, oh, no, I'm sorry, not that. Not many people will be listening, but she's like, our sales are 2.2 million year to date. What the fuck did you think we were going to owe? And I'm like, holy shit! I never like. What are you talking about? That's not possible. We never did that. And it's like, because I've lost control of what's going on. And I need to have a hard look at. I love what's going on. Our people are amazing and they're all happy. And I think we're making money. Like, I'm usually pretty anal about numbers too, about number things. Like, I'm usually right on the ball with it because I've been in the business a long time. I understand how it goes offside. And this year I'm just out of, like, I don't know, out of control.
I don't even know if I have a question coming out of this, but I'll just say, like, are you happy with kind of the direction your business has gone, and would you like continue growing? Like, where do you see kind of your business going? And same question to you, Chad, because I mean, I'm much smaller than you guys. I got more to kind of learn from you guys from this podcast anyways, but like, where do you guys see your business going to? And are you happy with how far you've come in the time that you've come? And I ask that because, like, no matter how much progress I make, how much like little or much progress I make, I'm still when I like in retrospect think about where I'm at, I'm still like never happy with where I'm at in the time that I've come at. But I don't think that'll ever change for me. I think no matter how much or how little progress I make, I'll always kind of think that way. Is that the same for you guys? I don't know if there's a bunch of different questions that I've got.
Yeah,
basically
that's a big question.
Yeah.
I think we're 11 years deep now. Probably gonna do $1.5 million this year, maybe a little more. We'll see. I don't think you're ever satisfied with how much or where you are in business. Like, you always want more. Like, I used to be stoked. We had a pickup truck and a dump truck, and a little tractor. And now we have 5 dump trucks and 6 machines, and we still want more. Like, you're never satisfied, I think. And I think it's healthy in business. Would I change anything? No, I think we're on track to sort of dial in the business sort of where I want to be, and with all the connections and all our GCs and everything going the way that they're going. I would like to lose maybe some residential work just because, and I've said it a million times now, I just don't like the hand-holding aspect of having to deal with homeowner jobs so much. I do love the fact that you're supposed to be paid upon completion, which is nice compared to waiting 60, 90, 120 plus days now on some of our jobs to get paid commercially. But I think we're dialing ourselves in slowly to become a commercial landscape company. And on that note, I don't think I'd be too upset about losing the interlock portion of that or that aspect of the business, just because I find interlock is a really hard way to make money, just from a physical standpoint, right? Like, it's hard on the body, and we got 7, 10, 20,000 square foot jobs, some of them with Lexa paver. If you've ever seen that, they only make it in a large rectangle now, so they have to weigh like 80 pounds a piece, right? And of course they want it curved in herringbone and all this other shit, right? That just makes for a hard way to make money. So if we could transition away from that, I'd be more than happy. But I think we're on the right track for us at least.
I don't. This business was only supposed to be me doing small front walkways in semi-retirement 3 years ago. Like I'm not even like this is our fourth season of business for Peeve. Now, mind you, like if someone listens to this and they're like, "Oh, 4 seasons," I'm like, okay, but I have like 30 years of background and connections and stuff. Like so, that's all plays into where the business is today compared. Like it's, most of our staff are people who've worked for me for 10 years, just in another way. Not directly for Kelly and I. I've had Kelly and I have had a lot of deep discussions this year about where we're going and what's going on because it's like a huge roller coaster ride and we have commercial clients and trucking clients and we have clients that are 180 days out on bills and they pay them, but it takes a long time and when we have a residential division that turns money really fast and they're successful but we have crews that are one crew in particular that is a pure commercial crew and they're all very experienced in commercial landscaping and that's what they do for a living. It's because that's what I've done since I was 14 is commercial landscaping. I only had a residential job crew ever because when I started my first company a long time ago, I just didn't have any money to start commercial landscaping and you need a lot of money.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see where it goes. Like we have daily now, like we bought one truck for a variety of reasons. And that one truck is now, we run 4 triaxles every day, all day. And it's not enough. I could run 5 or 6 if I had them every day right now. And then we run 2 dump trucks every day. On Monday, we had 5 trucks running off one job for half the day till they shut the dump down. But whatever, I digress. The trucks are an interesting game. I enjoy the trucking. It's so different. Like I don't know where any of my trucks will be on Monday of next week, but they will be some. I'm confident they'll be somewhere. But it's not like landscaping where you plan out your whole season and where you're going to be in August in theory without 100 rain days and supply shortages and COVID. But you have an idea. You have a schedule. You're built. Trucking is there's no schedule ever. Like it's just. It is a fly by the seat of your pants kind of business. And I enjoy that. So I maybe that will get bigger. Maybe 2 of the trucks that work for us every day are brokers. I love the brokers. They're great. They show up every day. They're hungry. They're working for themselves. They're both great guys. They fit into the mix. But maybe we put out our own trucks. I don't know. I think it's bigger than I wanted it to be. So I would like to think of growth for us next year as being growth of control growth. Like controlling the growth we had and then figuring out how to grow. I guarantee we've wasted thousands of dollars this year. I don't know. Like just not wasted, but just made poor decisions or made snap decisions and not being prepared for things. And,
wasting money, I think, is part of, as many people are going to say, they're going to say this is awful to say, but wasting money is part of big business. Like if you look at some of these big commercial civil guys, they're wasting so much money all the time compared to how efficiently you think you could do their job if you had all their tools. I just feel like there's always 8 guys sitting around, or they're throwing out tens of thousands of dollars in lumber that should be salvaged and stuff. But wasting money seems to be par for the course for a lot of us now. I mean, as terrible as it is to say.
Yeah, the other day we were going because there's like we went from having 1 credit card to 8. So I've never looked at them ever, which is totally ridiculous. I mean, Kelly does. Like, it's not like we don't. Like Kelly keeps a tight rein on the finances, so I don't want to we don't. But we were looking at we were trying to figure out how Christy needed a new front steer tire, and the guy came and replaced it and then left. And I was like, okay, how the hell did we fucking pay for that? Because neither of us had any idea, neither did Christy, because she went to get her credit card and the guy drove away. And she was like, okay. front steer tires were $1,200. This isn't a bill for $100 or $60. This is a $1,200 bill, right? And I'm like, well, how did this happen? And so we're going through the credit cards, and we found one of our guys had used that mobile service, and they had to register his credit card for them to come. So they just put it on his card because it's the registered card. And so we found it, but then we're looking at his card, and he has a bunch of like charges at the Esso station to buy diesel. And I'm like, okay, well, like we have a diesel tank in our yard, and it's 45 cents a liter cheaper than buying it at the gas station. So like, why are we doing that? And I called him and talked to him about it. He was, oh, sorry, and I'm like, how many times has something like that happened this year?
Right.
Because we grew so fast. I'm one person, Kelly's one person. The amount of like, our business is different because the amount, like every time we do something, it produces an invoiceable ticket. So you drop a bin, it produces an invoiceable ticket. You drop a load of gravel, it produces an invoiceable ticket. Well, at the end of the week, I think this week, there was like 150 invoiceable tickets on the table for Kelly to invoice. Like for her to keep up with that volume of just tickets and invoicing, plus the residential doesn't, like, and then there's like, it's overwhelming. So even for her to keep up is hard. And so then I'm like, how many things like this 50 cents a liter, which, it's like $50, but you add up $50 over and over and over again for the whole year. And I'm sure there's all kinds of little $50 things that happened this year. And I'm like, well, maybe this year is just not going to be, it's been a great year. And, our staff has been amazing, and they've all done a tremendous job. Maybe financially it won't be a good year, but in terms of team bonding, it'll be a great year. Maybe that's what we'll take away from this, is that a lot of the staff found their place. They figured out who they were as people at the company, and okay, so it wasn't the greatest profit year. That's okay. And I started this to do walkways alone. So anything I can make over what I would have made doing walkways alone, that's probably an advantage. It's better than I expected. So I don't know.
That's a success story, right? Going from the little guy who wanted to do a couple walkways to 6 triaxles and bin trucks and $2.2 million halfway through the year. That's
well, our end of year is October, so that's a bit warped, but whatever. I'm just
still.
I just want to point that out. Our end of year is October, not like we're pretty close to end of year, but it's I don't know. There's some things that happen. It's like when Kelly calls, like, hey, we owe HST. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like $24,000. That's like used to be like half my salary for the year.
Yeah.
What do you mean we owe? We're not talking about it. It's just it becomes. I don't know. I'm hoping for growth next year in processes and in dialing in, because in my previous life when I ran Lakeridge contracting, we sold between $3.5 and $4.5 million worth of landscaping every year over year, every year. And the owner of that company didn't want it to get any bigger. He never wanted to do more than that, ever. Under no circumstances would we. Which is part of the problem that happened with that, is it ended up stagnating and no one could get ahead, and everyone was logged in the slot for too long, and there was no forward progression for anyone. But what we did do there was we spent a horde of time dialing in processes to get to the most efficient way to do everything that we did, so that we could generate more profit from the same amount of money. I would like to do that next year and call that growth.
Right.
As opposed to selling more. I would like to maybe even sell less, but still, because I think that without generating more profit, I can't make the people that work on our team's lives better. And if I can't consistently make their lives better, they're going to go find someone who will.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not going to be here.
Right.
That's just my experience or opinion of this. But I'm hoping to dial it in. We'll dial it in next year. But I struggle. I don't know about you guys. I struggle horribly. I mean, horribly with turning down any opportunity.
Yeah. I really hate saying no to work. It's like when the GC asks, "Oh, can you do this extra? Can you do this extra?" Like, I don't have time. I'm supposed to be at another job 2 weeks ago. yeah, I can squeeze that in, like, and it's, yeah, I don't know what it is. I just don't like turning down work, even things I don't want to do, even residential stuff. Like, I have a hard time saying no.
I I struggle with like things like even like someone calls me for a bin, and I'm like, it's like $400 fill bin. I can figure out a way to get this bin in today. Why?
Yeah. I took a $500 sweeping job to sweep a parking lot. Um, that's probably going to cost me more than I'm going to make, but I said, yeah, I'll do it just because I thought, yeah, we'll run in and do it in an hour and make $400 or whatever, right? It just in the wash, it doesn't come out that way, but at the time, I'm like, yeah, we can do that. It'll be quick and we'll make something. Anytime you want to make a quick dollar, you lose twice as much.
That's the truth.
That's good.
Or anytime you do a favor, you lose twice as much every single time.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It's reverse karma or something. I don't know. Anytime you try and do something nice or help out, that's when something breaks, or that's
That's
when
the
it takes
truth.
twice as long as you thought. Um, so I don't know. We stopped doing favors, I guess.
I I have all these like rules, and then I get sucked in, and I'm like, I knew what was gonna happen. I did it anyways. I walked out.
Yeah.
Like I knew I should not have. It's like we have this. I don't know, I think I talked about this last time. This sprinkler guy that's also fucking pain in the ass. And I was like, I'm banning sprinkler people from our job sites. You want a sprinkler system? I'll put some conduits in under our walkways. You deal with that. We're done and gone. I don't want to be on the same site with sprinkler people. Like I got no time and no patience. Maybe I just haven't found the right sprinkler person, but just in my and then there'll probably be like 500 people that me now because they'll listen to this and be like, oh, you HVAC, like I've been doing sprinklers 20 years and I'm awesome. Like whatever, dude. But I don't remember where I was going with this. But anyways, so I had this in my mind. This is like this sprinkler guy like screwed us around like 3 weeks ago. This isn't even a long time ago. And then it's this job I bid. Once again, I've never been there, but I did Google Earth it. And walking down the same mistaken laden path over and over again. And the homeowner called Nancy, the designer, and said, I want a sprinkler system. And Nancy called me and said, hey, they need a sprinkler system. And I was like, fuck, I don't want to deal with this. And I was like, call the sprinkler guy. And she's like, but you hate that sprinkler guy. I'm like, a sprinkler person. I don't care. Whatever. We'll deal with them again. Maybe it'll be better this time. And I'm like, why am I doing this? Like it's idiotic. It's like totally my fault. Like, and to be fair, the sprinkler guy's actually a really nice guy. And maybe if I told him how I felt about things instead of screaming about him behind his back on the podcast, the whole sprinklers thing would go better for me. I don't fucking. But I'm doing it again, and it's 100% my fault. I priced 4 jobs on a Sunday afternoon, none of which I'd ever been to, all of which I Googled Earth to see the access, because I was too lazy to get in my Veloster. I was going to say truck, but it's my it's too lazy to jump in the Veloster and open the big sunroof, and it does have a 6 sunroof. And a heated steering wheel, which is nice.
Oh, nice.
And drive to these sites and just even do a drive-by. And I think part of it is like I hope no homeowners are with it. I still have to talk to homeowners on Sunday. I don't want to get involved in a 2-hour conversation about their sprinkler system that has jacked what to do with me. Like I don't, and so I just Google Earth things, and then that leads to chaos on for the residential clients. It's all me creating the chaos over and over again, thinking doing the same things will have a better result at some point. They don't ever have a better result.
But I mean, you're doing what you need to do to get by, right? Like I don't want to go out on Sunday and talk to 4 homeowners either, right? So I would probably be in the same boat, making the same mistakes and complaining about it too, right? Like I don't think it makes you any less of a contractor doing that. I think it's you're showing some dirty underwear that, I mean, we all do, right?
This year, last year we did a bubbling rock, and I don't usually do those kind of things. Like I do the things I know how to make money at, and anything else I sub it out. I don't want to do that shit. I don't want to know how to do lighting. I don't want to do sprinkler systems. I don't want to do building rocks. I don't want to build water features. I don't know about it. I don't want to experiment with it. I ain't got time for it. And so we ended up doing this bubbling rock, and leaves kept falling in it, and it kept getting jammed up with leaves, and it just was like this insane headache. And the homeowner, not that I gave her a breakdown of the bubbling rock maintenance schedule because I didn't know there was a bubbling rock maintenance schedule. Like this year, because Kelly had to deal with this bubbling rock over and over and over again because she has to listen to this project. So this year, the bubbling rock thing came up on the job, and she's like, "We're not in the bubbling rock business. Fuck bubbling rocks." Okay. So we had another guy come in to do the bubbling rock, who's a friend of mine for a long time, and that led to chaos on the job site because his crew was there and our crew was there, and it was like just too many people on the job site at once. It's like fucking tiny residential house. He's trying to get this bubbling rock done, but we're trying to lay the patio. No one's fault. It's just chaos. And so maybe we should get back into the bubbling rock business. I'm like, I don't want anything to do with bubbling rocks. And I'm like, short of saying to the designer, "You put a bubbling rock in this design, I am not doing this fucking job." Like I don't know what else to do. Like I just all that stuff, like big structures and buildings and decks and fuck decks and railings, and I don't know about any of it, and I don't want to do it. And
Yeah,
that's one of the things. You know, when you're doing commercial work, it's expected that if chain link fencing falls under your category and your pricing, you get someone to price that chain link fence. There's no expectation you do the chain link fence. But sometimes with residential, people are like, "Well, you don't know how to do chain link fence, so you must be an idiot." I'm like, fuck all about that. I've never touched it. I don't want to go near it. What are you talking about? It's we're gonna, I guess next year we'll be in the bubbling rock business, and maybe we'll start a sprinkler crew, solve that fucking problem too. I don't know.
I thought you were gonna go the other way, and maybe you're instead of like fuck decks, build patios, you're gonna be like fuck sprinklers, use a garden hose or something. Like
Fuck sprinkler, let the grass die.
let the grass die. We set up our own sprinkler system to irrigate the sod that we did because it was over an hour away and we didn't want to lose it. So we spent like tons of money that I guess we needed to just to irrigate this sod because nobody could go back and water it day after day in the middle of July. That worked out all right, but we have an in-house sprinkler guy too, so which coincidentally not a lot of people get along with. I think he's a great guy, but apparently there were some issues on the job site yesterday that led to him working alone today.
This podcast will not be popular with sprinkler people.
yeah.
Or bubbling rock suppliers. They're not sponsoring us.
Oh yeah. I built my first pond last year, and I've gotten 3 emails this year so far from the homeowners, and I've gone out twice because they can't find their fish. Well, it turns out they're not topping up the pond. It's getting low. The skimmer's sucking the fish in, and I keep on having to tell them that you got to take the skimmer lid off and scoop the fish out because you're not topping up the pond. But these are older folks. They don't quite understand that. So don't know if ponds are going to be a thing that we continue to do in the future, especially in that specific neighborhood.
I have a story along those lines, something similar, a little more gruesome. So I put a pool in 4 years ago. Fiberglass pool was the first one I ever did. It's good, no problems with the pond, but sometimes, or the pool, sorry, sometimes I can't clean it every day, like empty the basket there. So a couple weeks ago, I hadn't emptied the basket, and my wife says the returns are sucking air, we're blowing air. Can you go empty the basket? So I lift the lid off, and there was a chipmunk in the whatever skimmer, whatever it is, and he's spinning around like as everything's getting sucked down. But he'd been in there so long that he had no skin, no fur on his head. It was completely like gone. It was a skull. I swear to you, I must have a picture of it somewhere. He was been spinning around in that skimmer for so long that his fur disintegrated or rubbed off or whatever, but it was like a smooth skull, like a white skull, like you'd never see anything like it. It was just wild. And so now I empty the skimmer twice a week, I guess.
That visual, that just gets me.
And my daughter thought it was the greatest thing, right? She's like, what happened to his face? But now a little bit more diligent on emptying that skimmer basket.
Oh, man.
So, yeah.
I think that's a good way to finish the podcast here, guys.
If you're not ending on a dead chipmunk story, then like I would love to see Ullman and Mulder bring it home on a dead chipmunk story.
Yeah, I think that would happen.
I got another one about a dead cat. If you guys have time.
For a dead cat,
it was
give you as much time as you want.
I want to say 15 years ago. I was working for the company, well, the only other landscape company that I worked for. We were laying sod on a street in Alexandria, which is a little town, probably half an hour from me. And there was this dead cat that somebody had scooped up and put on the side of the road. And the topsoil was done. Nobody had a shovel for some reason, so we couldn't relocate the cat. So we rolled this sod right over the dead cat, and he became part of the land in Alexandria. So, and I don't know whatever came of it, but there was a dead cat under the sod, and he just stunk too bad, and we had no shovel to move him, so he stayed there.
It's a well fertilized part of the
well-fertilized spot is probably the best growing spot on the whole chalk.
It's just a green mark of the cat.
The green outline.
Everything else is dead brown.
The sod is twice as long as
any social media. Now there'd be someone making a meme out of the cat. Or whatever.
You're gonna get PETA come after me or animal cruelty or something and say he should have saved that chipmunk weeks ago. And what about this cat? Don't hire him.
I've heard of a chipmunk going in a pool.
I'm sure it's happened. You know, you can get those little like bridges that go into the pool to like save the wildlife and stuff. They wouldn't make them if chipmunks didn't go in pools.
Right.
They can't only be for frogs and snakes and stuff. Mice, I guess.
Be for chipmunks.
Yeah.
We put in a pool last year. Right? Kelly wanted one. And so it was the worst run project of my entire life. I mean, it was a fucking horribly run project and terribly done until Drake took over, who's our residential foreman, and cleaned up my entire huge mess. But like, I'm talking to someone this week, and they're like, "So do you guys enjoy the backyard a lot?" And I'm like, "I don't go out there." And they're like, "What do you mean you don't go outside?" I don't go out there. So I said, "Listen, I spent my whole life outside. When I get home at night, I think I want to fucking go outside."
It's true. Completely true.
It's hot out there. It's uncomfortable. I don't want to be outside. I got zero interest in being outside. Like, people are like, "I love it outside." I'm like, have you ever been outside when you didn't want to fucking be outside? Like when it's -5 or pouring rain or 10,000 degrees outside. Like I don't go outside. I get home. It's a controlled environment. And I watch some kind of innate police show where there's some crime committed, and then they find the person and usually shoot them at the end. Like, and that's what I do with my. And I get up and I go back to work the next day. I don't go outside. I don't chill by. It's hot as fuck. I don't want to be out there. Like I'm totally off topic, but it's time about the pool. I'm like, yeah, I don't.
No, I agree. Like sometimes my wife will be like, "Oh, we'll spend the whole day outside," and that's like a death sentence to me, right? Like. I've been outside all week. I want to lay in the air conditioning in the house. And she's like, "But it's beautiful out. Summer's only so long." I said, "I know, and I experience more of it than anybody." Nobody gets more summer than this guy.